And we are back.
Back again. This is another episode of the Hoop Plug.
Yes, sir. And as always, rocking with you on this fine Sunday evening. And when you get this, it'll be a Monday morning. It's your boy, Firas, in the building. And I got with me, as always, my brother, Tyler Murray. What's up, bro?
Sir.
How you
Not
doing?
much, man. I'm feeling good. You know, we got baseball starting. We got basketball playoffs. Feeling good. And I got some season tickets to the Mets this year, so I'm excited about that too. You know, got me a little 20-game plan, so I'm going to be out there in Queens watching my faithful.
Okay, bet. When you're in Queens, go and stop and get some falafel over by Steinway. You know what I mean? Steinway Street, you know, if you're feeling frisky. And yeah, man, I'm glad to hear you're doing good. You already know we got a couple of Mets fans here on this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Some Mets loyal. So that's pretty hype, bro.
I got the weekday plan because, I got that flexibility. I can get there whenever. And it was the cheapest. So it's a win-win scenario. So that's what I'm going to do. 20 games, weekdays. It includes the two best games of the year, which are the home opener, right? Which happens to be Jackie Robinson Day. Shout out.
Hey, shout out.
And Subway Series versus the Yankees. So I'm hype about that. Gonna make a nice little return because your boy's gonna sell both of those.
It really doesn't get much better than that either, bro. Because like you mentioned, two of the better games, best games probably for the Mets all year. And like you said, gonna get that cash moolah guwap on the return on that investment. So that's good stuff,
Thanks.
brother. You know? And without further ado, man, we got a jam action-packed episode of the Hoop Plug today, man. It's the back end of the season. For most people, they've already played 81 games. For a lot of teams, they've already played 82. You know what I mean? The seeds are basically, the rankings for the playoffs are basically locked in for the most part. We got a couple teams still, cementing their seed in. And we got a lot of playoff basketball coming up. You know what I mean?
Yes, and that's all going to be broken down and broken in by the play-in tournament, right? Tuesday, it all starts. We got the 7-8 matchups in the Eastern and Western Conference, and that's immediately followed by Wednesday, the 8 and 9 seeds facing off in the Western and Eastern Conference again.
Before we even get into the play-in, man, I had to hit them with the breaking news. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, it came down to the wire. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long season. A lot of heavy hitters. We saw #Washed King prove to the rest of us that he's really not a washed king. You know what I'm saying? But with all that being said, when it came to being able to put the most points in the basket, put the ball in the basket the most, there's someone that I got to give that recognition to for this season. It's our boy, Joel Embiid, down in Philadelphia. And I don't mean to take us from our regularly scheduled programming, right? But at the same time, it came down to the wire between him, Giannis, LeBron. Like, there was a lot of people in that conversation. You know what I'm saying? And Joel Embiid, the lonely Sixer, you know what I'm saying? James Harden was injured. Ben Simmons left him all season, and he's proved that he is the best scorer in the NBA, at least for this season.
Yeah, and this is one of the few awards where you don't have to wait for the media to vote on it. This is just by the numbers. Joel Embiid, historic season. If he doesn't run away with that MVP, at least he's got the scoring title under his belt. Most 40-10 games in an NBA regular season. First player in a long time to average 30 from the center position. It's been a hell of a year for Joel Embiid. Shouts to him.
For sure. And with all that being said, back to your original posed question of the play-in matchup, Clippers versus the T-Wolves, and who do I got? Man, that's probably one of the more interesting matchups we're going to have in the play-in, right? Because you have two teams here. Clippers, who are a team normally who's a top 4 seed, right? Barring injuries, we would never see them in this kind of territory, right? And the T-Wolves is a team who are just finding their stride, right? Karl Anthony down after being a star for the first 4 or 5 years in his career, having a couple down seasons. And now, with the support of D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards, we've seen kind of a rejuvenation in his game. You know what I mean? We knew he could shoot. We know he can rebound. We know he can play defense, and we know he can score. But he's been able to pick up every single facet of his game and increase the level and his production. So that's that. D'Angelo Russell, he's not quite the guy that we knew in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? But he's still a competitive person who you got to guard on the offensive end every single night. And don't even get me started on Anthony Edwards, man. The guy is the truth. You know what I mean? He's the real deal. The confidence that he plays with, the swag. You know what I mean? He makes it all fun and brings it all together for that big three in Minnesota. So out of those two teams, I'm going to have to give the slight edge to the Clippers because Paul George is back. But other than that, this is going to be a really competitive matchup.
Yeah, so you got a two-headed monster out there in Reggie Jackson, Paul George. The Morris brother has been good. Zubac holds it down. Very underrated center. Versus, you would think, the more talented team in the T-Wolves, right? Karl Anthony Towns, generational talent. That sounds crazy to say, but he is, man. 7-footer shooting it like that. Best big man shooter since Dirk. In a league where we're full of big man shooters. Yeah, shouts out Jersey. St. Joe's, right? Yeah, St. Joe's finest. Down there in Metuchen, you know what I'm saying? We played them in high school baseball. I didn't get to play him in basketball. Our teams never matched up. But we did play him in baseball where he actually played his freshman year, Karl Towns. We're in the same draft class. Same class. We didn't get drafted.
Just in case you guys were wondering, Ty is a real late rounder. He was the 60th pick overall in 2015. You guys just don't know about him because he chose his career over sports. You know what I'm saying? It's all for the love
Only
of the
place
game,
me
man.
and Firas getting drafted is 2K. So
Nah, man, but that's a cool ass story. My reaction is not as crazy because I already knew that. But the fans of the plug, man, we had a young Ty Murr on a sunny Saturday morning teeing up, getting ready to hit against the young Karl Anthony Towns. And man, he did not look young at all, did he, Ty?
Nah, he wasn't 7 foot, but he was at least 6'8". And you can't imagine how funny he looks crouched down in a batting stance on a baseball field. Like, that just doesn't look right.
He wasn't a pitcher.
Nah.
Okay.
At least not when we played him.
Copy that. No, I wouldn't know. I just wasn't sure, but it would have been so great for the details of the story. You know what I mean? But with all that being said, though, man, yeah, we're kind of in agreement here. Although you would think the T-Wolves...
I didn't even give my pick, so I gotta... I was just saying, yeah, the T-Wolves are the more talented team on paper, but Paul George is a fourth quarter player. Anthony Edwards is going to be their closer, but he's not on that level yet. They're a better coach group out there in LA too. So that's why I'm giving them the edge.
Yep. No, I'm with you on that. With all that being said too, though, you would expect, like you said earlier, the Wolves to be able to like win this game and pull it out, especially without Kawhi being there. But I think if you give Anthony Edwards 1 or 2 more years to be able to hit his full ceiling or his prime, Karl Anthony Towns, who again, you got to understand, he's been in the league now, 8 years, 7 years? He's been in the league a while now, right? And D'Angelo Russell, who's, not the definition of consistency, So when Anthony Edwards picks it up in a year or two and he becomes the guy for them, I think when they become secondary options around him, this Timberwolves team is going to be really scary. But until that time, I'm giving this one to the Clippers. Moving on, 2 teams that you really didn't expect to be here, right? You have the Pelicans and you got the Spurs. The Spurs who basically since the DeMar DeRozan trade have been unknown, you know what I mean? And the Pelicans, besides a midseason trade, barring a midseason trade, you wouldn't know them other than the team who doesn't have Zion on the floor right now, So, Ty, let me get your thoughts on this matchup right here for the 9-10 matchup.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have not watched one lick of the Pelicans or the Spurs this year. And honestly, I don't think it matters for me answering this question because those are the 9-10s in the West. They're going to have to play the loser of the Clippers or T-Wolves. And I think both the Clippers and T-Wolves are getting into the playoffs. So regardless of how this ends up, I think either of the Pelicans or Spurs end up losing and their playoff dreams end here.
Yeah, although I'm with you 100% on the point regarding whoever wins this game loses, I like the Pelicans, man. I have not seen a Spurs game. However, with that being said, since the CJ McCollum trade, this Pelicans team has actually been pretty competitive and won majority of their games in the back end of that season or this season, So I do like the Pelicans. I think they're going to be able to pull it off. The Spurs are the better coached team. But like you said, it doesn't even matter. Whoever the winner of this matchup faces are going to lose to the winner of the T-Wolves and the Clippers. Moving on to the Eastern Conference, right? So we have couple teams you wouldn't really expect there, to be honest, right? So the Nets, Cavs, Hawks, Hornets, right? In that order. But excuse me,
Nets are in.
Nets are basically in. But I mean, you would never expect a team like the Nets to be fringe playoff position. Again, that has to do with injuries, then the James Harden trade, and then Kyrie not being able to play more than half the games, which has now changed. Obviously, the Nets are in, right? But then even a team like the Cavs, man, who just a year ago we expected not to be good for 5-10 years, which we've known them to do once losing their star players. You know what I mean? They're not the best run team, or when I say run, I mean the best managed team, But, man, shouts out to the Cavs for the year that they put together, man. It's really good to see them fighting for playoff position. And, yeah. So that being said, you got the Nets versus the Cavs. That's a simple one. You know what I mean? The second matchup is the Hawks versus the Hornets, man. Ty, can I get your thoughts on that?
I agree with Firas, man. The Nets are a lock here. Kyrie, KD, the two of the best closers in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if they both go for 30, 35 in this play. So they're going to get that 7 seed. You can wrap that up right now. But out of the Cavs, Hawks, Hornets, who do you think comes out and gets that 8 seed? That's tough. Gordon Hayward's going to miss this play-in, right? He's already out. Not sure what the injury is, but he's not going to be suiting up. That hurts the Hornets. Yes, they still got Bridges. They got LaMelo. Terry is still scary. But
he never stopped being scary.
That's facts.
Yeah.
But the Hawks got someone pretty scary too, okay? Because Trae Young is a real one, right? Bogdanovich doesn't get talked about enough. They got some sneaky shooters that are not named Trae Young in Atlanta. So they're going to be my pick to make it as the 8th seed.
Yeah, you mentioned it. We got the Knicks nightmare and Trae Young. Nah, let me chill. But let me start it from the top, man. So, like I said, I already touched on the Cavs. I really like their center and Jarrett Allen and their guard and Darius Garland. With Colin Sexton in the mix and not coming off injury. You know what I'm trying to say. This is a different team as well. The Hawks are one of those teams that you're surprised that are even in this kind of position, right? Based on the season that they had last year, based on the type of player that Trae Young is. And then lastly, we have the Hornets, right? Who, this is going to be one of the best two-punch combinations in the NBA for a long time to come between LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, if you ask me. You know what I mean? Scary Terry, although I think is the alpha on the team in the current moment, I think that's due to, experience and amount of time spent in the league. I think he's going to be a great complementary piece to that duo. But, man, Miles Bridges, like you were talking about him in a previous episode, he's up for Most Improved Player of the Year, averaging 20 points. LaMelo Ball is looking scary, but something that we've come to expect from him, With all of that being said, although hearing Miles Bridges for alley-oop for LaMelo Ball, and those Hornets announcers would be great, right? But I think you give them a year or two. I think the Hawks pulled this one out. The Cavs, although look good, they have 2 All-Stars. They have a legitimate, you know what I'm saying? They have a legitimate conversation for that spot. But I'm going to give it to the Hawks, man. The Hawks are the more proven team. They have playoff experience, and it's not like they're playing 7 games. It's just 1. So I give it to the Hawks on this one for sure.
Well, it's a shocker here. We have agreed on every single pick so far. We'll see if it changes because we're about to break down that Eastern Conference. That's been looking mean all year. So we got started off close to home for my boy Firas, okay, with the 6th seed. Yes, they slipped to 6th seed, Chicago Bulls. All right. As promising as their start was, to me, it's only going to amount to a first-round exit because they're set up to face either Milwaukee, Boston, or the 76ers in the first round. Firas, what are your thoughts?
Man, we're going to run through what I tell you. Once comes playoff time, it don't matter who we play. You know what I'm saying? We're going to run through everybody, What? No. I'm going to be honest, man. I don't know what's more surprising here, right? If the fact that the Chicago Bulls have dropped down to the 6th seed or the fact that Toronto Raptors have jumped up to the 5th. At the beginning of the season, we were talking about them in the same breath as who we thought the Cleveland Cavaliers were going to be. And now both of those squads are envying, the Raptors have locked in their playoff position and the Cavs are working to do that, right? Both of these squads have performed insane, right? So to me, that's really crazy. Shouts out the Raptors. I know we're going to talk about them in a second, but man, I'm not really surprised about the drop in playoff ranking or position ranking for the Bulls due to our injuries, due to a lot of things happening. DeMar DeRozan is human. I know there was a point throughout the season we thought he might not be where he's putting up those 35, 40-point games, but he came down to earth a little bit, With all that being said, I like the Chicago Bulls team. We just put this squad together, and we thought they were going to be a first seed. We're talking about them being championship favorites. We're talking about how it's a disappointment that they've dropped all the way down to the 6th seed. If you ask me, that's a win in itself. Just a season ago.
Oh, Firas, you're not taking the moral victory right now.
We ain't even thinking about playoffs a year ago. Now, with all that being said, we got Zach. We got DeMar. Our boy Caruso's back. Ball ain't back yet, but Vooch is there. You know what I'm saying? Whether we play Milwaukee and Giannis, whether we play Sixers and Joel, you know what I'm saying? And who's the last one? I don't even care about them boys in green. You know what I'm saying? I don't even care about them boys in green, right? It don't matter who we play. The Bulls is running through them. And if, by the grace of God, if we lose, damn, it's going to be a competitive series, all right? So that's all I got to say on that.
You already set up the loss, man. You talking like y'all already lost.
Nah, man.
Look, Lonzo Ball ain't coming back. Ever since he put on them Triple B sneakers, his ankles ain't been the same, okay?
Nah, that's
and that drop you talked about coincided with DeMar turning back into the red and black Raptor DeMar, okay? So y'all better hope he looks like baby Michael again if you guys have any chance of knocking off Milwaukee, Boston, or Philadelphia.
It's a good thing he is. I'm playing. Let me not disrespect MJ like that. But moving on. 5th seed, I talked about him a little bit. Them boys over in Toronto, man. The Toronto Raptors. Ty, let me get your thoughts on Toronto since you already heard mine.
Yeah, you talked about the expectations and how they've defied them. They bounced back, man. They missed the playoffs last year. They said never again. So as the 5 seed, they're facing Milwaukee, Boston, or Philadelphia in the first round. All tough matchups, but they got that home court advantage with the no vax, no play rule. So if we know Boston, the rumors circling, they might have Jaylen Brown and Al Horford miss that round or that matchup if the home games, at least for Toronto, as they are rumored to be unvaxxed. So that's going to play a factor. This is a team that plays ferocious defense. Nick Nurse, we know him as one of the best coaches in the league. Pascal Siakam, capable of becoming and taking another step. 25-5 is not out of reach for him. Scotty Barnes, talented. Fred VanVleet, a true closer. They're going to be scary, but I don't see them making it out the first round.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They're kind of in a tough spot, right, where they have home. They don't have home court advantage in any situation, right? But they're close, you know. And this Raptors team, and again, man, just being the 5th seed is a win for them too. I don't mean to keep taking these moral victories, but again, we talked about the expectations. We talked about Federico stepping up and Pascal after a down season stepping up, and all these guys stepping up, man. Scotty Barnes with a good rookie season. Nick Nurse, you know what I mean? First season wins a championship, and he's holding it down, letting it be known that he is a championship caliber coach. He's able to work with the pieces. So, man, shouts out the Raptors, but like you mentioned, their playoff run is going to be short-lived. Now, coming up, one of the favorites, man, one of the big favorites for this year's playoffs, at least all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe there's some questions there for the finals, but the Philadelphia 76ers, who currently are in 4, can finish 3. Really not a bad spot to be in. Ty, let me get your thoughts on that.
Yes, they're going to finish 3 or 4, which means they're going to face either Toronto Raptors or Chicago. We said it's a good spot, but Toronto handed it to them. James Harden combined for, I believe, 30 points in the last 2 matchups against the Raptors, shooting abysmal from the floor. It's really going to come down to, when we're talking about Philly and the playoff hopes and dreams they have this year, can James Harden get back on track? Like, this guy, talking about falling off, this guy has fallen off. He's not getting to the rim like he used to. He's turning the ball over. He's shooting awfully. It's a real concern. I got them. I don't even know. I really think they might lose, but Joel's been so good. I don't know. You talking. Let me see if you can help me convince me.
It's hard to say that they're going to lose watching the way that Joel has been performing, right? I'm with you there. That's why kind of you're at a loss for words. But the whole reason why it works is because James Harden is there. You know what I mean? When he's not performing and he's not doing what he's doing, it's really hard for Joel's going to give you 30, right? But if everyone else on his team puts up 5 points, they're not getting to 100. They're not winning that basketball game. The teams average over 100 points these days. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think that just 2-3 years ago, James Harden was averaging damn near 37 points per game. You know, and this is the shell of the man that was once doing that. You know, I don't think it's too late. I think he, you know, being in Brooklyn in that system and then coming to a new system, it's going to take some adjustment time. I think we're going to see a different James Harden in the playoffs, but let's hope that is the case for these Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I see them easily winning their first round matchup, but the second round is going to be really tough. Joel Embiid, again, we know what we're going to get from him, but it's really going to take something from James Harden.
So now you just said you see them easily winning that first round matchup. You know that could be your Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real though. Like, the Sixers, like, they're good as fuck.
All right.
Actually, I never said anything about Chicago.
Well, I'm just saying they're a potential matchup. They're playing either Toronto or Chicago.
They'll play Toronto. They'll probably play Toronto.
All right.
Yeah. Then we'll sauce Boston. No, I'm kidding. So next up, speaking of who's next up, you know what I'm saying? We got them boys in green. I ain't even going to dignify them by saying their name. You know what I'm saying? You handle these fools, man.
All right, we're talking about Boston. Celtic Nation, where you at? They're going to finish 2, 3, or 4, okay? And that means they'll be facing Toronto or Chicago. Or if they do so well that they end up in the 2 seed, they're playing the 7-8 winner, which is probably the Brooklyn Nets. So, sneak, wink, wink. Everyone's dodging that 2 seed, okay? No one's trying to face that juggernaut that is the Brooklyn Nets. So let's say they lose. They're facing Toronto or Chicago. I got them winning, man. I got them winning. I feel good about the Celtics. I think this is their best chance, their best shot at reaching the Eastern Conference Finals since they did it 5 years ago. Was that 5? No, 4 years ago maybe? Either way, I feel good about them. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, both healthy. Marcus Smart playing really good basketball. The first-year head coach feels like he's got everything working right now. So I like the Celtics this year.
Yeah, they're good. You know, all due respect to them. Like, you know, I was shitting on them boys in green, just trying to be funny. Now, this team is good, man. I really like Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum, I think he's good. I think at times he can be overrated. And I think that's kind of the issue with the squad sometimes is consistency. But as of late, that has not been an issue, right? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown feel like they finally found their way and found themselves in this league here and know what they can and can't do. And, you know, it's not too much what they can't do, right? So as long as those boys are performing to the best of their abilities, Marcus Smart, who's one of the most unorthodox players in the league, right? Not meaning shooting style or anything like that. It's just something about him is just different, right? He shouldn't be good, approach, but he's good. And exactly. So that's how I feel about the Celtics. Expect them to make some noise this season. But again, they're not good enough to beat a Sixers or a Milwaukee. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the 1 seed because this is a really weak 1 seed. You know what I mean? But we'll get into that when the time comes. But yeah, that's how I feel about the Celtics.
Ironic that both teams in green are in the same position. So we just talked about Boston either finishing 2, 3, or 4. Milwaukee in that same slot will finish 2, 3, or 4. But they're being smart about it. They're blatantly dodging that 2 seed, resting Giannis, Drew Holiday. Sit down, Middleton too. So they're really trying to lose this game. They do not want to see Brooklyn in the first round, which would mean if they do avoid Brooklyn successfully, it's going to be at Boston or Milwaukee. But if they do avoid Brooklyn again, gonna face Toronto or Chicago. So if they play Toronto, Chicago, win. And I'm gonna even say this: if they face Brooklyn in the first round, I think they're gonna win. Ben Simmons could come back, rumored to be optimistic to come back during the first round matchup. But I think it's a little too little. I think it's too little, too late. All right. That's it. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. But, I mean, to be quite frank, right, this Milwaukee team is or should be the favorite, right? They are the champions from last year. You know, they have all the pieces. They've only gotten better. Giannis could be in an MVP season, right? But the funny thing about that is I think if they play the Nets, you say they might win. But honestly, I think they might lose, right? Because KD by himself last year with the worst supporting cast almost beat them. I mean, it's a foot on the line. You know what I mean? That's the difference between them winning the playoffs and potentially winning a championship. You know what I mean? So that's without Kyrie. That's without everyone there the entire time. So I think either way, Milwaukee does not want to finish in second place. And then we'll leave the basketball to the basketball team. You know what I'm saying?
Last year, Brooklyn did win one or two of those games with Kyrie and James. Oh, well, James went down really, really early, but with Kyrie.
Yeah,
And what I saw this year, Giannis isn't the same Giannis as last year. This guy is better. He might not win an MVP, but this guy is better. The confidence with jump shots, the way they can double team Kevin Durant, I think is an issue because Kyrie will be guarded by Drew Holiday. They can throw Middleton and Giannis to switch the looks. They're going to rotate Bruce Brown's guy, Nicholas Claxton, Andre Drummond's guy, whoever that is. I think they have a really good plan. They have the best defenders possible to execute it. I think I see Milwaukee pulling this out.
Well, for one of those rare occasions in the hoop plug moment where we're going to have to agree to disagree, I do see what you're saying, and it does make sense. You know what I mean? But regardless, something that we can agree is that that's going to be probably the best matchup in the entire playoffs in the first round if it happens.
Oh, for sure.
You know. Moving on. South Beach, Miami Vice. Nah, I'm playing. The Miami Heat, though. You know what I mean? They've surprised us all, shocked us, really, just like they did 2 years ago, making it all the way to the bubble finals. They've locked in this regular season first seed, man. Let me get your thoughts on Miami, bro.
Yeah, man. Miami, I mean, obviously they're going to win their first round, right? 1 seed, they're going to be playing the winner of the play-in game, the 8, 9, or 10 seed from the play-in, which is not the Nets. They're going to win that matchup. But the real question is for Miami, how far can they go? Is this just a regular season team, or do you expect them to show up big in the playoffs? And to that, I say no. I don't think they are going to show up. I think they're going to show up, right? They're well coached. They're going to play hard. They're going to play well. They're going to battle, but man, they're still missing something. Victor Oladipo's been good since he got back. Jimmy Butler is not it. Bam Adebayo is like maxing out what he is, but yeah, it comes back to Jimmy Butler not being that guy.
Jimmy Butler is mid. I'm sorry. He had a great run in the playoffs, but that was like the best basketball he'd ever play. And people are trying to say he's a top 5 guy in the league. I just want all those guys who were saying that Jimmy Butler was a top 5. People were even telling me he was top 2 in the NBA.
My God, let's like RJ Barrett, bro.
Thank you. Let's keep it a full stack. And I get it. Jimmy Butler coasts until the playoffs, right? He puts in that work. He got a bummy-ass Miami Heat team all the way to the finals. He stole a game from LeBron by dropping damn near 50. Jimmy Butler can hoop, but he's mid. He's not the guy you want to put the shoulder on. He's not the guy you want to put the franchise on the shoulders of. And plain and simple, that's what it is. The rest of those young weapons, they're not quite there yet, and I don't think that they'll ever be. They're well coached, and this is the best version of this Miami Heat team that you will ever see. Unless Tyler Hero starts averaging 30 and becomes the next, I don't even know. You know what I mean? So, which I doubt is going to happen.
Yeah, man, we saw him average 25 in the playoffs, but that was in the bubble, man. Like, we know they have other scorers. They don't need Jimmy Butler to average 25. But they don't have other playoff scorers. They don't have Kyrie's or any other top tier guys.
Shit, give him a Clay. That you know that when you're 1 or 2 option, or shit, even your third option, because Clay at the time, he could even have been slept on as a 4th option with Dre being in the game and handling the playmaking, right? But with all that being said, you have a guy like Clay who comes in, your first few options are not playing well. He can literally give you 20 points. And man, I don't need to talk about how great Klay Thompson is. We all know that. But you get what I'm trying to say.
Who do you think could knock out Miami in the East?
I mean, who are they playing? I mean, shit, the Cavs have a chance to beat them. No, I'm not even being disrespectful. No, I'm not even being disrespectful because to me, the Miami Heat are a mid team. They are a 6 or 7 seed that's lucky to be in the first. They've just been able to hold it together for this entire season. Like, I get it. they've been able to do something spectacular, right? But let's think about those Atlanta Hawks from few years back who ran the league, right? How'd they do in the playoffs? Not so hot. You know what I'm saying? Think about all of those teams, right? You know what I mean? I don't even need to go into details or mention them. So that's why I feel the way I do about the Heat. I don't think that they're the real deal. Until they prove me wrong, I'm not going to think otherwise, you know?
That's true. I think they really... Where they overperform is against teams with 1 star. Where their flaws really show is 2-star led teams.
Yeah.
Dynamic duo led teams. Because they can't just... Let's chuck one guy down and win this game.
Yeah, straight up. Because whoever they don't lock down, that's who's going to win the game for him, so, for the other team. So I don't mean to shit on the Heat, but, you know, things ain't too hot over there.
We can't take it back. We're not taking it back.
No. You didn't even hear what I said. I was like, I don't mean to poop on them, but things ain't too hot down in Miami. You know what I'm saying? So, yup. With that being said, we went through the Eastern Conference. We went through the play-in in both the East and the West. It's time to really talk about the meat here, of the Western Conference. You know what I'm saying? Had to say it right away. We got to get into the nitty-gritty, you know what I mean? Hey. Yeah, little joke.
Big pause on this side, all right. But
hey, super pause. I said it before anyone could even think of the pause, right? So,
all right. So, we already talked about the play-in. We're going to start with the 5/6 seed because it's still up for grabs. It's going to be one of either Denver or Utah. Okay, both you could say had disappointing seasons. Denver had some legitimacy there, right? They had to deal with a whole plethora. Yes, I said plethora of injuries. And Utah, some infighting, reportedly. So these guys are going to either face Dallas Mavs or Golden State Warriors. So instead of, you could break them down individually if you want, or you could just tell them which of these matchups you think are most likely to result in an upset.
You know what I'll tell you what. I don't really see like a upset here because I think that all these teams are good. You know, I think that the worst team out of this 4-team selection really is Utah, but to be quite frank, like they were the first seed not even 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Or a couple years back, right? So every single one of these teams, given the right circumstances, the players not being injured, blah, 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 are great teams. Like, quite frank, typically we could even see a situation at one point in time where this could be 1, 2, 3, and 4, not directly in that order, but you get what I'm trying to say?
I think Denver's interesting because they're they're just a solo 1-star led show right now. Michael Porter Jr. is not coming back. Jamal Murray is not coming back.
Yeah.
Utah is kind of in the same position, I guess. Jordan Clarkson is a better secondary scorer than anyone there in Denver, but that's kind of close. And they're interesting squads because we've known them to be really good in the past, but this just for some reason hasn't been their year. I think Mavs, Golden State, sky's the limit, right? They're going to be our 3-4 seeds. Those teams you could see, if everything goes right, they can make it out the West. Denver and Utah, even though they're just 2 seeds behind, clearly on a different trajectory. I'd be shocked if either of them make it to the conference finals. So, I don't actually see any upsets here. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. And, man, I don't know. I'm just really looking at this Mavs roster. And they kind of got hustled for Kristaps, but that's a topic for another day. You know what I mean? But fuck Kristaps. Honestly, wherever he goes, he's a goddamn, like, virus. Man, I understand why you're talking about that. But anyways, no, I'm with you on that. We already know what we're getting out of the Western Conference. It's going to be competitive. You know what I'm saying? They're more than likely, most games are going to go to 7. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, with all that being said, right, let's just get it out the way. We think it's, like you mentioned, we think it's going to be Golden State. I think it's going to be Golden State, Dallas, Denver, Utah. Simple. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Word. And right now, Dallas and Golden State are fighting for the 3-4 seeds. Whichever team is in that 3 seed is probably playing Memphis after round 1. That 4 seed is probably drawing Phoenix after round 1. So you got to play for that game.
Yeah.
You got to play for that. You do not want to see Phoenix in the
And that's the
second
thing.
round.
You don't want to face the Grizzlies either with the way that they've been playing and John Morant has been performing. But I promise you, a bunch of the backup committee that John Morant's got behind him are going to fold come playoff time. You know what I mean? With all due respect to them, you know what I'm saying? They've earned the second seeding in the Western Conference, but they're a bunch of like I'm sorry. No one can convince me that Dylan Brooks is a star in the league. You know what I'm saying? I just don't believe it, right? He's been playing well. He has been one of the guys on that team, but my point is I think that they're all going to come down to earth very soon.
I mean, we've said it, right? Let's talk about the 2 seed Grizzlies facing the T-Wolves or Clippers in round 1. We've said it both. We think it's a year too early for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they can't have a great playoff run they can build on.
For sure.
So the question becomes, what do you see as their ceiling? Like we talked about, Warriors and Mavs are in their path to the Western Conference Final. So they're going to play one of the two. Can you see them beating the Warriors or Mavs? Warriors, no.
Well, if we go contrary to popular belief, if we look at the regular season, the Grizzlies have basically beat the Warriors every single time they've played, right? But with all that being said, using logic and what we know to be the Golden State Warriors, we don't see that happening. So I'm with you, though, but I just had to put that out there, you know?
That's true. And I think they could very well win or lose all of these series. That's not saying much, but that's the truth. Like,
yeah.
Luka can he can go supernova and take over.
He can go and average
So
a 40-point
Ja.
triple-double. You're right.
Same case for Steph. Yeah, go ahead.
But that's the thing. Honestly, out of all those guys, Ja's going off is probably more impactful than everyone else. Like Luka, you know, Steph, when Steph goes off, he gives you 15 points in 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? 2 minutes, like out of nowhere, right? But Steph's got other options, other weapons, right? Luka, I mean, like besides him, like that team is trash. But Ja, like he feeds, and when he eats and he feeds, like everyone else is eating on his squad. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really interesting dynamic. But I think that what started all this was, who would you rather play? And you'd much rather play the Grizzlies versus the Phoenix Suns.
Facts. And is there any chance you think they could, the Grizzlies, that being, lose in the first round? They play the Clippers or the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
Any chance? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially if I think it's going to be the Clippers. I think they can lose because Paul George again is a beast. Again, you know, he dispelled them playoff P's last year. You know, he probably wants to be pushing P now, right?
And I think the reason we say that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's because they haven't done this before.
Thank you. And honestly,
they are so young. Yeah,
their roster's not proven. Their roster is not proven. Besides John Morant, none of these guys they haven't made their name in the league.
And I can see why someone listening to this is like, yo, they've beaten everybody without Ja. Like, what makes you think when they get him back, they won't just run through these playoffs? It's a different game when the playoffs start. Yeah. It really is.
It's no longer, you know, and again, I think for the better half of the season, teams were no longer just, you know, putting the Memphis Grizzlies as, we play them, easy win, keep it pushing, right? They started marking their calendar like, okay, this is a team we got to prepare for, right? But you got to understand, in the regular season, the first 30, 40, like, games, like, teams are like, they're just playing well, like, not really preparing for them, not really focused on them. But come playoff time, you have a whole coaching staff dedicated to every single player on on the Grizzlies team, right? And they're going to break down every single, like pamphlets, right? They can't do this. They can't do that. These are the spots to step into their space and not let them shoot. You like break down everything. So all of their their strengths are going to be shown, but their weaknesses are going to be emphasized. This is the playoffs. Everyone's trying to kill you, which has been the difference between the Grizzlies and everyone else is throughout the regular season. They've been the killers, but it's a different. Everyone's turned it up now.
Yeah,
but I keep
and what
cutting
makes
you off.
what makes all that scouting different? Because you're always going to have that for John Morant when the Grizzlies come, but you don't have that for the 15th man on the roster in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's when we talked about that bench mob for the Grizzlies that's been tearing it up. That's when they probably get shut down.
Yeah.
When Dylan Brooks' scouting report is just as long as John Morant's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned it perfectly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Can't wait to see it play out. Will the Grizzlies make this run? If they do, man, the Ja hype is going to be unbelievable.
Listen, if they do, Ja is better than Zion. 'Cause let's be real. One person has done a lot and the other hasn't done anything. You know?
Facts.
So, with all that being said, though, we talked about the East, we talked about the West, except for everyone's number one seed, the best record in the NBA, a team that everyone is looking at with a whole lot of respect, much differently than we did last year. The Phoenix Suns, man. Wow. This team is taking a step towards greatness, bro. This team, Chris Paul and what Devin Booker are doing right now in Phoenix are elevating, I want to say, the legacy of the franchise, bro. Like, this is an era that is arguably in line or competing with the Steve Nash era, right? And that's before we even talked about anything that they did this season. You know what I'm saying? So, Ty, I'm going to let you, thoughts on the Phoenix Suns, bro?
Finals or bust.
Yeah.
Finals or bust. They got there last year. They better at least get there this year. If they're not playing if they're not playing in the final game of the NBA season this year, it's been a failure. Because that's what their expectations are after making it last year. They are fully healthy. They are well coached, and they are ready, man. So we got to hope CP plays and stays, not plays. We got to hope he stays healthy. That's been a concern. He even played some of last year's playoffs hurt. But there are no excuses other than that if the Suns don't make it to the finals this year.
I'm with you. You hit it. You said it perfectly, right? And I think the Phoenix Suns are going to find it a lot more difficult this year, right? Last year, no expectations. You know what I mean? Not that they barely made it into the playoffs. They were competitive. Chris Paul really was a difference maker for that squad last year. We knew what Devin Booker and those other guys could do, right? But they made it all the way to the finals with no expectations. You know, even just being there was a win for them, right? Now the expectations are different, right? They're thinking of it as, I'm trying to make it back to the NBA Finals and fix what we didn't do last year, right? But they still got to make it back there. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a long, hard road. Everyone's out to get them. They are that top alpha. They are the one that everyone's looking up like, we've got to kill them. And every team is going to try to do just that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the Suns are going to find it have a much more difficult time this year in the playoffs. But if they can get through all that, even with the expectations, even with teams knowing what they can do this year, it's going to be a really good Phoenix Suns team we see, you know?
Yeah, and I think the toughest, their biggest threat in the Western Conference, keeping them from the finals, their biggest roadblock, it's got to be the Golden State Warriors, man. A fully healthy Golden State Warriors. But they're on pace to do that. Steph, Clay, Dre are tested time and time again. They know how to play when the lights are bright. But even though Golden State is their toughest competitor in my eyes, Memphis is the series I really want to see, because that is just, it feels like they got old and proven versus the young cats that are on the block. It would be fun. It'd be exciting. I don't know if it'd be competitive, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, definitely an interesting matchup to say the least, man. I think so too. And again, man, it's just two fun teams to watch, you know, so.
Facts. All right, that's going to do it. Another episode of the Hoop Plug in the books.
With all that being said, keep it tuned, keep it locked. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hoop Plug. And as always, put some flavor in you.